All right. All right, so one of the last things I wanted to go over before showing like just a sample of a finished project for the final um, is motion guide animation, and it really it's the same principle as the original classic tween animation we did, but it really it takes a shape like a line, and you basically draw like a path that you want your shape to travel along. So we had a ball get small and grow large from point A to point B, but it's really boring. So we wanted to do something that went along a path that kind of winded in and out, or kind of however you wanted to do something like that. Again, I'll just start with the basic shape. I'm doing a square this time because I wanted to. Uh, I want you to be able to see it kind of rotate, because I'm going to add a rotation as well as all of those other properties that we did. So again, I'll just draw the square here. I'll rename this layer square just to keep it all legit here. Then I'm going to control click that, and I'm going to convert it to a symbol. And I'm going to keep it as a movie clip. I'll just name it square. Hit OK. Then I'm going to go to, let's see, I'll just go to frame 30. And then I'll control click frame 30 here on my timeline. And I'm going to do insert keyframe. So again, it's going to make an exact copy of my artwork from frame 1 onto frame 30. And then at this frame 30, then I'm going to move my square to like another position on the pasteboard. So I'll move my playhead back and forth and see my beginning and end. So those are different, which is good. So at this point, let's see, I'll open this part back up. At this point, what I can do is I'm going to actually change the tint of it. So I'll rearrange the color, something that's a little bit more visible, something like that. For my final, actually make the size larger too, so I'll increase my width and height just via this slider, move it up a little bit. If you wanted to actually increase the size of it without using these sliders, and you wanted something a little more intuitive that might be different, you can click the image and go up to modify as well, and then go to transform here, and then hit free transform or scale. Let's see, you could rotate, you could do all these different things. So this might be a little more intuitive as well for you. So if I were to hit free transform, I could actually see these little this bounding box come together around this object, and then scale it up that way. Also, you probably might want to hover over the edge if you wanted this to like kind of rotate. In your animation, you can do that as well in the transform menu. But I'm just going to leave it at this right now. And I'm basically going to go into my timeline, click between my two keyframes here in my timeline on my layer 1, then hold the control button and click, and then create that classic tween animation. So again, just the basic there. I can control click, actually not control, just click the tween there, and then adjust the easing to ease in or ease out. I'll ease it in so it kind of slows down at the end. And then from this point, we're going to start building the motion guide that will, instead of just having this piece kind of going from point A to point B like in a very linear fashion, we're going to make it kind of move around more. So you can control click this square layer, and it's important that you do it out there. Like you can't do it. I don't think you can do it over here. Yeah, you can't. You have to actually click like the layer name out here. So this whole line like selects, and then you hit Control and then click it. So you can see the whole line is gold now. So I control clicked the square layer area here. And then I'm just going to hit this button here. It's an Add Classic Motion Guide. So once you click that Add Classic Motion Guide option, it's going to create this new layer here called Guide. It's just called Guide, but it's named the same thing, Guide Square. So it's this guide for the square layer. It's really hard for me to read that from here, but that's what it's called. So in this instance, what you would do is click on the Guide Square frame 1 on the Guide Square layer, and then you can just get your pen tool and then just kind of draw like the path that you want this shape to go to. So this is going to work exactly like an Illustrator tool. And then you're just going to kind of draw the path that you want this shape to travel along. Alright, so once you have it drawn out, you can just click off of it or wherever. I'll change the color of it so it can be more noticeable. So it's like this brown color. So I have my shape drawn out, and next step, what I need to do is click on the square piece, and then I need to like move it around, and I need to like snap the center circle point. So in the middle of this square, that's what's called my anchor point. So I need to take that and then line it up to the tip of this, where this line ends up, and then it'll kind of snap there. So once it snaps, I'll let go of it and then move on. So now I'll go to my last frame in the animation, frame 30 here. On my square layer, click the square object on the pasteboard, and then I'm going to drag that to the end of the line. Let me see where my position is. Well, that didn't quite work. There. So that should do it. So then my shape is actually going to travel the path. So I define the beginning of the square here at the beginning of my motion path line, and then at the end I kind of snapped it to the end of the line. So it's just going to travel this path along the animation. So you can see this path, but then you can actually turn it off too by just hiding the guide square layer. See this little eye symbol? You can just click the dot underneath it in that column, and it'll hide that, so then you won't see the actual guide path at all that it's following. The reason you would want to be able to see it is that if you wanted to edit that line, so I'm going to take my sub-selection tool and then just click that line, I can then edit that line like I would any other kind of path. Well, it's a little bit different because I intersect here, but I can kind of move this part down pretty easily without too much pain. And then have it kind of trace over there in that way, and then kind of turn it off. So another thing you can do, now that I have my motion path kind of built out, it's not going anywhere. I can actually just take, and let's say like I was happy with that path, for instance, I can take this square piece then, and then I can kind of add more properties to it, maybe change the color. I can even change the size. Let's make it a little bit smaller so it's not so flush. And still, my path is still maintained. with the shape and everything, while I'm still editing that square layer animation, and simultaneously all the tweens in between frame 1 and frame 30 on the square layer. So here I can modify, transform this shape. I want to start rotating it, so I can hit rotate and scale under that transform menu. I can adjust the scale here as well, but my reason for being here is kind of what I want to do is like rotate it a lot. So I could do like a 720 degree rotation, and so oh, didn't do it. Try it again. Transform. Oh, you know what? I rotate and skew. See if that'll work. Yeah, that helped. So instead of that, so I went to modify, rotate, and modify, transform, rotate, and skew. And then I just, once I selected that, that bounding box that comes up, this just as it does with the transform tool, comes up as well. And you can kind of hover over the edge, and you can see that your arrow is going to kind of turn into this like little half circle arrow. And that's how you know you can kind of like rotate this thing, and then it'll kind of do that in the animation. You know, if you needed a last minute rotation or something. And of course, you could change the alpha too on that if you wanted to as well. There's those other menus too. Yeah, and these are very Photoshop-y based. So like brightness, increasing or decreasing the brightness. It looks like it's making it transparent, but it's not. If you had a layer underneath it, you would definitely be able to see the difference. Advanced. This pretty much gives you all of the control over the different color variations. So you can adjust the red, green, or blue channels to change the color in this here in advanced. And the alpha as well simultaneously, i.e. the transparency of it. So that's essentially the gist of it. Basic animations. Were there any questions at this point so far? Anybody?